Hello and welcome to this lecture on the count aggregate function. The count aggregate function is used to return the number of rows that matches a specified criteria. So whatever criteria you specified, it will return the total number of rows. This is the syntax you would use to specify a count aggregate function. So you start with a select keyword and followed by the word count. You must write count. It doesn't have to be in uppercase, but I like mine in uppercase. And then in between the parentheses is where you specify the values. So where you specify the column names you want to perform the count on. So if you want to perform the count on all the columns in the table, then you use an asterisk inside these parentheses, and that will count all the columns. But if you've got individual columns, or several columns, you can specify them in between these parentheses here. If you are specifying more than one column, you need to separate them by a comma. And then you need the from keyword, because this is where you specify the table name where you are performing the count on. So this is just a basic syntax of how you would write a count aggregate function in a query, how you would include it in a query. So let's head over to SQL Server Management Studio, where we'll be connecting to our SQL Server and experimenting with the count aggregate function. I have got my SQL Server Management Studio opened. I just need to open up a new query window. Just click on this for new query window and select the correct database. So the database I want to use is the AdventureWorks 2014. So I need to make sure it's selected so that my query will execute against the database selected. I'm going to use the human resources schema and the employees table. So let me write a simple query that will count the total number of employees in this company. The count aggregate function is very important. It is one that you will use a lot in T-SQL query. So let's begin. Do select. Star. Do select count. You need to type in the word count. And because I've put an asterisk there, it will perform the count on all the columns. Okay, I've not specified individual columns, I've just specified all. So this asterisk in between the parentheses will count all the column. So the keyword is select count. Then I need to specify the table and the schema. So schema first. So this is the schema, and then a dot. It will show the tables, employee. So that is it. Just two lines of query here. So I'm counting all performing a count on all the columns from the employees table. All right. So I'll execute that. So it's giving me a total count of 290. Because I have not noticed here, the column name doesn't really make sense. So let's make it a bit more friendly by adding a column here. This is going to be a column that will not be permanent. So once it's only for the purpose of this query. So to make an alias column, I do as, and I'll put total. So when I execute again, this label here will change to total. Let's do that. Execute. All right. So total count is 290. So with a count, it will only return a single value. So aggregate functions return a single value. So I've performed a count. So I now know that this company has 290 employees. Often when writing T-SQL, you may get a request from a company or someone from within the company to find the total number of something, either of employees or any value. The count function will come in very handy. You can also use the distinct keyword in combination with the count aggregate function to determine distinct values in a query. So let's have a quick look at this employees table. So in the employee table, which belongs to the human resources schema, we're going to pick out just one column, which is the job title. So let me execute that. As you can see, we've got 290 rows in total for this table, and we've got various job titles. Some of the job titles may be duplicates. So we can use a distinct with our count function to find out the distinct, that is the actual job titles that are unique without any duplicate. So this is the query you would use to find out the distinct job titles within this table here. So line 10 here, I've got select keyword followed by the count function, and in between the parentheses for the count function, I have included a distinct keyword followed by job title. What I'm saying here is that I want a distinct on the job title. So do a count on this column here, but only give me the titles that are unique. Just return only titles that are unique. And I've given the extra column, the output, I've given it an alias column of number of titles. This square brackets here it's protective of the title name, what is there here. So it will avoid conflicts if there are other names that matches that, and also it will preserve the way you have written the alias in this square brackets there. So let me execute that, and then you can see. You see, so it's giving me number of titles as I've specified in this column name here, and then it's giving me 67. So there are 67 unique titles for job titles. Okay, so previously we had loads, some of them were duplicate, but now I know we've just got 67 titles in this company. So this can be useful again if you are asked to produce a report showing distinct values. So in this lecture, we've been able to look at how the aggregate function count works in a T-SQL query. Thank you so much for your time. Quick summary: the count aggregate function is used to return the total number of rows in a specified criteria. And the syntax, you do select the keyword count, then the parentheses, you specify the column name, or if you want to perform the count on all the columns, you put an asterisk in the parentheses. The from is where you specify the table name. Take care and bye for now.